One glaring difference between the January 6 committee hearings and previous hearings into Trump's misconduct is the absence of Trump apologists like this guy.
The whole premise for how this Trump-Russia investigation started in the first place, his statements. I did not cast aspersions. I read his statements.
Very well. Since I believe the gentleman cast aspersions.
You're wrong. 2018, President Trump had already done more for Ukraine than Obama did.
And it is quite possible that
he doesn't share the one that the guy he worked with.
Mr. Jordan,
Mr.
Jordan, you may not like the witness's answer, but we will hear it.
There wasn't an answer.
Mr. Jordan, we will hear the witness's answer.
That was Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan playing Trump's defender-in-chief. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy initially selected Jordan to sit on the January 6 panel, but he was rejected by Speaker Nancy Pelosi along with Congressman Jim Banks over their efforts to invalidate the 2020 election. That led Kevin McCarthy to boycott the hearings entirely. And let me speak for all of us when I say thank you, Kevin McCarthy, by not filling the committee with QAnon bomb throwers and supporters of the big lie, because these have been some of the most damning, consequential congressional hearings ever. Our panel is back with us. Jonathan Capehart, Danielle Moody. All right, here we go. You guys ready for rock and roll number 2? All right, here we go. So, Jonathan, in a Washington Post opinion column, E.J. Dionne writes, quote, McCarthy thought that by walking away entirely, he would be able to discredit the work of the committee as partisan. Bad call. With none of his allies there to throw sand into the gears, the committee was able to organize a seamless presentation. Your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. But let's just keep something in mind. The reason why House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy first, opted not to put any folks on the committee was because his master's voice from either New Jersey or Mar-a-Lago said, you shouldn't be a part of this quote-unquote witch hunt, this quote-unquote sham process. And so at the time when he decided not to put anybody on the committee, Donald Trump was saying, don't put anybody on the committee. But as we know now, as a result of reporting last week, now Donald Trump is like, maybe that was a mistake. And Steele, here's what I think. Donald Trump is going to use the fact that Kevin McCarthy followed his orders and the orders turned out to be wrong as part of the bill of particulars Donald Trump will use against Kevin McCarthy. If the Republicans take back the House, he will use that as part of the evidence as to why he can't support Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House.
Yeah, that and then some. Danielle, to Jonathan's point, Politico points out, quote, the mercurial former president's dissatisfaction is spilling into view as Trump watches hearings that hone in on his election subversion and his role in the attack with no friendly Republicans to combat or distract from the select panel's presentation. Behind closed doors, some GOP lawmakers view Trump's peak over their boycott of the committee as a sign that the January 6 hearings are breaking through with the public. Do you agree with that assessment, that the absence of Trump defenders is helping the hearings break through in a way that they otherwise may not have?
Yes, because, I mean, all of the clips that you just played of Jim Jordan, all he sounds like is a lapdog. Right? Like that, I mean, to me, that's all he sounds like. He was saying nothing that made sense. And so that would be the point of any of the people that Kevin McCarthy would have placed on this commission would have been there to simply do nothing for the American people, not give us any information that was pertinent to us understanding how our democracy came under assault by the president of the United States and who was a part of the architect, right? The architecture and the strategy around bringing down our democracy. And so this is actually a serious committee with serious representatives who are interested, who are interested in making sure that the American people understand the gravity of the situation that we're in. Because, Michael, to everybody, what everybody needs to understand is that the coup is not done. The coup is continuing. Yeah. We have hundreds of federal judges that were appointed by Donald Trump. We have a 6-3 Supreme Court. We have people that are operating at school boards that are banning books, right, and banning whole language around LGBTQ plus people. And so the coup is still happening, and it's quite successful, right? And so the commission's job right now is incredibly important to lay out exactly how Donald Trump was the architect, the mastermind, right, behind going after his own vice president, which we've never seen in this country ever. That is something that we've seen in a Banana Republic or mobster flicks, but not in these United States.
Yeah, Eugene, Danielle hits on a number of important targets there, because the new Quinnipiac University poll shows that 58% of Americans say they're following news about the work of the January 6th Congressional Committee very or somewhat closely. Only 41% say they are not at this moment. Could these hearings have that kind of impact that Danielle's referring to?
It's possible. I think what's really interesting is a lot of us cynical reporters and DC types had expected not a lot of people to watch these, right? We were thinking, because, we've been talking about this for a long time, inflation is high, all of these things are happening in front of people's faces, that they wouldn't be watching. But what we know is they are obviously watching according to polls and also ratings. But most importantly, they also believe that this committee is nonpartisan and doing its work in a really important truth-based way. And when we talked to aides on the committee, they have talked about how they wanted to make sure that the facts and the witnesses lead them where they need to go. You heard Chair Benny Thompson say that over and over and over again. And that's been happening. And I think folks are surprised, because we're used to watching hearings where people like Jim Jordan are going off, and you have a Democrat who starts yelling back with them. You're used to this kind of partisan bickering in hearings, but that's not what we're seeing. What the American people are seeing are Republicans who worked for Donald Trump or were in places of power during the Trump administration, whether it be in states or in agencies around the Washington, D.C., and his own children, talking about how he was trying to subvert the will of the people, both before and after the election and up until January 6th. And so that gives this level of gravitas that a lot of folks, I think, weren't expecting. And so will that change anything when it comes to voting or anything like that? It's hard to know, right? Democracy and getting people to care about democracy is a little bit more difficult than the things that are in front of them. But people are watching and they're paying attention. I think it actually will have more to do with 2024, something that we've heard from Republican strategists, and you're probably hearing this too, is that these hearings are basically commercials for people like Ron DeSantis in Florida, who wants to run and who may want to run in 2024 for the Republican nomination because of how bad they're making Donald Trump look.
Danielle Moody and Eugene Daniels, thank you both so much. I enjoyed the conversation. Jonathan Capehart, stick around, my friend. I want to ask you about your new Pride special airing next on MSNBC. We'll be right back.